Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to week 4 of 60 books in 60 days. If you are new here, you don't know what this is, super quick little introduction. I'm attempting to read one book a day every day for the next 2 months in an attempt to get my physical TBR down. So if you are new here and you're like, whoa, crazy title, what is going on? Make sure you subscribe so you can go ahead and follow me along on this journey and you can get your physical TBR down with me. I don't know what book I want to start out with. I'm looking. I have like 2 insane books lined up right next to each other that are just both so crazy. I think the book I'm gonna start out with today though, I think since it's the beginning of the week, I wanna ease into it. I don't wanna go too crazy. I think I'm gonna start out with the rule book. So super short, closed door romance. I've heard this one's a little spicier. I've read both When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect by this author. I loved them both, but Practice Makes Perfect for me was like a 5-star read, which I was not expecting at all. Because When in Rome, I like moderately like. I probably won't read the cheat sheet just because there's tropes in there that I don't necessarily love. I did really want to get this read in the summer specifically because look at this cover. I'm gonna be so real. I think I'm gonna be audiobooking the frick out of this book because if you're new here and you missed last week, first of all, if you want to see any of the videos in the series, they'll all be linked in a playlist down below. You can watch them after you watch this video. I went on a trip last week, so that was a fun vlog. And then when I got back from my trip, me and my boyfriend actually went down to San Diego for the night because he had work out there. I just officially really got home from my trip, even though I had like one day in between those two things. I have so much like little life admin things to do. Like I have to go grocery shopping, I have to budget, I have to clean out my fridge, I have to deep clean. I just have like a lot of little things I have to do today. It's already like 3 p.m. So I'm going to put an audiobook on probably for the first part of this book and then pick it up later tonight. I don't think I'm gonna audiobook the whole thing because I don't think I would have time to audiobook the full thing today, but I definitely am gonna audiobook it while I get a lot of my tasks done. I've made it to chapter 15, which in the book is page 119. Everything that I've read so far has been through the audiobook, so it says I'm about 33% in, at least that's what Spotify said. I'm feeling good about it. I'm kind of on the fence of how I feel about our female main character. I think she's just kind of rude and like she paints herself as like this super mature person, but I think she's more immature, and I fear that Sarah Adams tried making her so girl boss that she just made her like the opposite. I think she's selfish. Like at the end of the day, I think our female main character is selfish, but as the book progresses on, I'm liking her more and more. I really like the friend group in this. They're the ones making me giggle, really like carrying the book for me so far, but I am enjoying it. Like I'm not disliking my time. I'm about to get in bed. I finished like the big tasks that I needed to do today. I got to like budget, grocery shop, do all those things that I needed to do while listening to the audiobook, and I'm gonna switch to the physical book and finish the book out that way. I am feeling good about it. Like I think it's still gonna be rated at least over 3 stars. Again, it really just depends on how I feel about Nora. She's just not my favorite character right now, and I don't really like her, and I think as like a person she would irritate me in person. Ending of chapter 17. If you know, you know. I was just not expecting that at all. It's like a random plot twist. I was not expecting this book to have plot twists. It made me giggle. It made me laugh. I'm kind of loving this. I finished the rule book. I, for a second, was considering rating this higher, and then I sat and thought about it and thought like, no, honestly, I just don't think this book is going to be as memorable as I think. I feel like the only thing I really enjoyed about this book, and this sounds harsh because I don't even mean it that badly, like it wasn't a bad book necessarily, I wouldn't not recommend it, but the only thing I really like enjoyed about this book was like literally Derek's friend group dynamic. Like that was it. I thought they were fun. I thought they were funny. That being said, the writing is good. It is a fun Sarah Adams book. This one does have 1 spice chapter in it, and she warns you at the beginning because normally Sarah Adams writes closed door romances, so if you don't want any spice, there is a warning of like what chapter that comes from, and it's not super descriptive. I just had to give that warning because I know Sarah Adams is normally closed door romance, and that's what people know her as. This one does have a little bit more than closed door. I was sitting and thinking about their relationship, and I just felt no chemistry between these 2 people whatsoever. Like they almost didn't feel like they were fitted well for each other, and I never ended up liking Nora. I didn't like her. She annoyed me as a character. They were so like mean to each other that I wasn't rooting for them. Like it's an enemies to lovers. It's a second chance enemies to lovers. They dated in college and then broke up, and it's like a second chance, but I feel like if it would have just been second chance, I would have like believed it more. But because when they saw each other again, they just like absolutely hated each other, even though it made sense in context of the story and in context of their relationship, to me it just felt like there was like trying to be added tropes, you know, like more tropes added the better, and I didn't like love that. Overall, it wasn't a bad book. This was a 3-star book. Like, it was good. I would recommend it. I think it's a fun summer read. I feel like a lot of people might really, really love this. It just like wasn't my favorite thing. And I don't know why it's not a 2-star, because I feel like I have so many complaints and I liked one singular, very small aspect of this book, really. For some reason, I can't bring myself to rate it a 2-star. I have another shorter book for today, but it's gonna be one that takes me a little longer. And that is because it is probably, arguably, the first book I've read this entire challenge that I think is intelligent. Let me rephrase that. It's the first book that is like literary fiction classic level, you know? Like this, I'm gonna have to put my thinking cap on a little bit. And it's a book by my favorite author of all time. I have a tattoo from a quote from one of his books on my body, and it is Kurt Vonnegut. We are reading Mother Night by Kurt Vonnegut. I know if you're new here, you're probably like, whoa, the rule book and then Kurt Vonnegut. A big shift. I know, I read everything under the sun. I'm really excited about it. It is super short. I think it's literally 267 pages. Kurt Vonnegut books take me longer though. I've been getting comments, which totally valid, don't get me wrong, but I've been getting comments like, what's your average reading speed? How are you reading like a book a day? Blah, 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 blah. Me, I could read like a low-level fantasy romance or a romance book or a thriller. I could read like any of those types of books, I would say, in like 3 hours if it's like a 300-page book. With those books, I average about 100 pages an hour. Do not compare yourself to me, because I've been reading my entire life. I didn't start reading recently. My mom is an English teacher. I think I read my first like low grade, middle grade novel when I was like 7 years old. I read books that don't necessarily have a ton of substance, which sounds insulting and I don't even mean it in that way. I just literally have no other way of explaining it. I tend to read books with not a lot of substance, for lack of a better term, very, very quickly. But my point is even though this book is 260 pages, it's a Kurt Vonnegut book. Kurt Vonnegut books are very convoluted. With Kurt Vonnegut books, you really have to understand rhetorical devices and you have to sit and analyze the book. Like, you have to think about it. It's telling a story, but there's all these double meanings. Like, that's just how Kurt Vonnegut writes. That is why I love his writing though. So it is going to take me probably a little longer. I'm home from work now. I got to like page 169 before I had to leave for work for this book. I'm loving it. I'm telling you guys right now, there is never ever gonna be a time that I rate a Kurt Vonnegut book lower than a 4 stars. Objectively speaking, he is probably, out of every single author I've read personally, one of the best. Like, he is the best of the best. He's definitely not for everyone. If you are not into like really having to sit and think about your books, if you just want it mainly for like entertainment purposes, like that's totally fine, because look at my bookshelf, most of my books are like that. But every once in a while, I like a little thought daughter moment, and I'll use my Kurt Vonnegut for that. And I've read some classics, I've read amazing books, but no one does it like he does. Even if I hate a Kurt Vonnegut book, objectively speaking, it is like impossible for me to rate it lower than a 4 star. I know this is probably gonna be around a 4 stars as of right now. That being said, it's not my favorite Kurt Vonnegut book I've ever read. Each of his books usually deal with like a deeper subject. A lot of them are about the war, because he was in the war. Kurt Vonnegut has lived experiences, or he had lived experiences that are so unique and so not like what most people have. All of his books are about like a specific ideal, some sort of philosophical dilemma. This one is about morality and how you can assess if someone is a good person or not. So our main character is not a good person necessarily, but he is. And that is where the disconnect comes. Basically, we're following a man who was a talk show host in Germany during World War II. And like I said, Kurt Vonnegut experienced World War II, and so he's kind of writing from that perspective. The man is currently a prisoner of war, but in World War II, he was like a talk show host on the radio. You then find out that he was kind of of like a double agent and he was transmitting radio message to the American. I literally only have like 90 pages left. So I am going to shower. I've already eaten dinner. I did like everything I needed to do today. I felt like really slay and really proud of myself. After getting back from my vacation last week, I was like, I just need to get my ducks in a row. I need to get my routines back together, and I'm feeling good about that. So I'm going to shower, I'm gonna deep clean, and then we're gonna pick this book up before bed and finish it out. Hello everyone, I did finish Mother Night yesterday. Oh my gosh. You know how I was like, this might be one of my least favorite Kurt Vonnegut's, blah, 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 blah. I still love it. It's still gonna be a 4 stars, but out of all his work, it's probably all that I was saying. Yeah. The last 90 pages of this book, oh my god, literally skyrocketed the rating. I gave this a 5 stars, which, like I said, I knew it was gonna be over a 4 at least, but a 5 star for Kurt Vonnegut is like, when you look at, this is this man's words tattooed on my body. He's my favorite author. He's so good. It was complex already, but like I said, the last 90 pages just like boom, right away just made it even better. Like I was saying, it's all about morality, and you're following like the bigger plot of like, is this guy a good person or not? Then when you kind of go deeper into this book, you notice that almost every single character, except maybe like the really small ones mentioned, but even them, every single character in this book, you're kind of debating, is this person a good person or not? You cannot go into one of his books just for the story. You cannot go in just like turning your brain off, go for the story. You have to look at every single word this man writes as having a deeper meaning. Everything is so nuanced, and if you go in just reading the story and not looking deeper and reading in between the lines, you're probably not gonna like it. All of his stories are written kind of weird. His dialogue's always kind of wacky and strange. Like that's like his charm. Have to go deeper. There were so many lines, like, oh my god, there's one, I have to find it. So on the subject of morality, there was tons of like little lines written throughout. This one says, he can be many things at once, all sincerely, it's a gift. And that's talking about how there is like a character who is simultaneously our main character's friend and his enemy. And like that's what this is all about. It's all about like the dichotomy of people and of life. It's kind of like what this character says, we can be many things all at once, and like that is a gift, but it can also be a curse type thing. I want to write an essay about this book. I do. That's what Kurt Vonnegut does to me. He makes me want to write essays. I could talk about that book forever, but I'm not gonna bore you guys. Today we're reading very different vibe here. Finlay Donovan is killing it. I'm excited about it. I've heard like kind of mixed things. Like I've seen people say like they absolutely love this book. Other people are like, it was all right. So I don't really know where I'm gonna land, because I think the idea of it is like pretty silly and fun, and I think that might be fun. But I feel like I have to go into it with the expectation that it's just silly and fun. Chilling and reading like you guys saw, and I made it like pretty far into Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I am now on chapter 24, page 183. I'm like obsessed with this book. I did not go into this expecting like a serious thriller. It is very much a dark comedy. There's thriller aspects, and there are parts where my heart's pumping a little, like Finlay is getting into some sticky situations, but at the end of the day, it's a dark comedy, and it is so silly. It is so much fun. If you don't know what this is about, it's about an author named Finlay Donovan, and she just recently went through a divorce, and she's like kind of like low on money because she has to like wait for book advances to come in. So she is just like kind of looking for an opportunity, and she has a meeting with her agent. When she was talking to her agent, the way she was describing what was going on sounded like she was a hit woman. She's like, oh, seedy nightclubs, bad people, things like that, you know. She gets this note that's like $50,000, call this number, blah, blah, blah. So she's like, what? And she calls, and the person's like, hey, I need you to kill my husband. She kind of does. Kind of. I don't want to spoil anything because things get crazy from there, but that's how the story starts out. It is so fun. Just how she speaks, like the back and forth, especially between her and Vera. Vera was her babysitter, but they turn kind of into like partners in crime. So like just like the conversations between them is so funny. They're both kind of panicked. They're both like, oh my god, Vera kind of takes over. Like it's just really, really fun. Like I'm liking this a lot. Finlay Donovan is Killing It is done, guys. I love this book. This book and the humor in this book and just the storyline is so up my alley. First of all, it has like all the intriguing aspects of a thriller that I like, that like keep me reading without being scary. Like this is not a thriller mystery, but it is. I would say it's more of like a cozy mystery. It's just so fun. It's still thrilling, but it's not scary at all. It's very silly. I was laughing out loud. I don't think this book is for everyone, but something that I just love so much is like how absolutely ridiculous it is. And I don't mean that in a bad way. This book is so ridiculous, and that is what it is supposed to be. And our author, what's her name? Ellie Cosumano? I don't know if I'm saying that right. She understands that this book is goofy, and that's what makes it good. Like, it is so silly goofy. I don't know if I'm gonna continue on with the series. Maybe I will if I just want like another fun story like this, but I'm not super intrigued to continue on. I'm giving it a 4 stars, and Wednesday is done. What is today? This is day 24. I didn't even realize we're more than 1/3 of the way through this challenge. At this point, it feels like this is more just habit. Again, I have so much more free time than people who normally work do. Like my jobs are very quick. Like they're not easy necessarily, but I can get through them quickly. I have just like worked reading a full book into my daily schedule somehow, and it's been so great for my screen time. There have been a few days where my screen time was pretty high and my reading I was like really rushing at the end of the day, but like being more strict with the schedule like I have been this week specifically, now like setting those boundaries for myself, it's really making a difference, and I'm looking forward to reading and I don't feel slumpy. Good morning everyone. Ignore that my bed is unmade in the background. I like literally just got out of it, but I had like a really nice morning. My job's like very variable. I know I was talking about it a little yesterday. Normally I work like at least 6 hours a day, but in the summer not a lot of families opt into doing program and to doing therapy because, like I said, I'm an in-home therapist, but I mainly work with children who have like developmental delays. So a lot of families will opt to either like not do program or just like pause like for certain times in the summer. In the summer, it seems to be like slightly slower. Like I literally only have like 1 appointment unless I get rerouted to a sub session today. I had the morning where I could just like sit. I don't have to worry about going to work till later. It's been like so nice. I had the morning, it's only like 9 a.m. It's still pretty early, but I woke up at 7. So I like literally laid in bed for an hour and a half and it was lovely and wonderful. Today's book is going to be These Twisted Bonds. I'm a little nervous about this. This is the second book in These Hollow Vows. I didn't love These Hollow Vows. I just thought that it was like weirdly paced. I feel like the story was like setting up for one plot. These Hollow Vows was about a girl who she goes into the fairy realm because she has to save her sister, but she's like immortal or whatever, like that, you know, basic fantasy fairy realm setup basically. But then that turned into like having to masquerade as the fae, and there's like a love triangle because she's like, oh, I need to win the prince's heart so she could stay in the fairy realm and blah 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 blah. But then like the whole plot that started off like her saving her sister got completely pushed to the side until the end of the book, and like I don't know, the pacing was just off. Like the pacing was off, and I was like not convinced I was gonna continue on with the series. I gave it like a 3 stars. Like I didn't dislike it, but it just like was not my favorite book. But I ended up caving because this was on Book Outlet, and I was so curious to see who she ended up with. Truly, the love triangle sucked me in. Do I care? Obviously a little bit, because like I was gonna say no, but I obviously care a little bit because I would like to know who she ends up with. You know how I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna finish this book before I even go to work today? Didn't do that. I kind of got tucked into my phone a little bit. Not too bad. Like I would say about 2 weeks ago during week 2, that was like the worst time I got sucked into my phone. I was like on TikTok for like 3 hours a day one of those days. That was crazy. But it was bad enough to where after I finished editing my video, I could have read and I didn't read. So I edited the first like few days of this vlog, and I'm proud of myself for that because I did technically get everything done. I just never picked this book up. So I am about to get cozy, get in bed. I'm not like going to sleep yet. It's literally, you could probably see in my windows out there, it's literally still light outside. I will say in my defense, I did start my period today. Even though I was prepared for it, I feel like you're never prepared for it. Like, I feel like I forget how bad it hurts every month. Because of that, my afternoon was like a little iffy. I should have read. Like, I really should have read. I'm just making excuses now. Like I said, I am all cozy. I'm comfy. I'm ready for bed. I'm not planning on sleeping anytime soon. I probably won't fall asleep for honestly a while. I can actually sleep in tomorrow. I'm gonna lay in bed, wallow in my self-pity, get my heating pad. I'm about to like start and finish this book, y'all. Like, I'm gonna just knock it out in one go. I fear most of the updates for this book are gonna be coming to you like this because girlie's got her heating pad on. I simply cannot move. Like, I am in pain right now. I'm straight up not having a good time. I am, how many pages am I? I'm on chapter 8, page 108. I didn't realize I was 100 pages in, which I guess is a good thing technically. I literally look like Cousin It right now. I'm on page 108. The pacing of this book is better than it was in the first one. Like, I'm gonna give it that. This one, the pacing's a little better, but at the same time, because I didn't like these hollow vows, I just don't care about what's going on. Like, I don't care about this plot at all, and I feel so dumb. Why did I buy this book? It might have been an irresponsible purchase. I'm a little farther in now, like 100 more pages-ish. I'm at 243 now. I am liking it a little better, but that's like not saying much because I was really not liking it at first. I do think objectively the writing in this book is better than it was in these Hollow Vows. I could see our author improved a lot. Like, no hate to Lexi Ryan. I just think this story isn't really for me. The love triangle is still love triangling, but I'm a little more interested in it now than I was 100 pages ago. Let's just say if she doesn't end up with who I want her to end up with, it's gonna be a 1 star. Do you think she's gonna end up with who I want her to end up with? It just like is looking that way. Honestly, at this point, the love triangle might be solved. For some reason, there's a fake dating trope in here. I don't really get why. Like, I get why in context of the book, but I was like, why was this thrown in halfway through this random fan? I don't know. I finished these Twisted Bonds last night. How do I say this? This was objectively better than the first book. If the first book had been written the way this one was written, I think I would have enjoyed the overall series more. It just felt really tropey, like I was saying. It kind of felt like everything that was going on is like if AI wrote a fairy book. Like, if AI was tasked with writing a fantasy romance with fairies in it, that's what this book felt like. And that's what the first one felt like too. Like, it was just a lot. Normally that wouldn't bother me, and I was thinking last night, I was like, why is that bothering me? Because I love some really, really tropey books. Like, you guys have probably seen me talk about some, but I realized it's because I don't really like any of these characters. I only like Finn. I hate our female main character though. There's no depth to her. I just don't like her. And I feel like she has like no real personality. I don't like anyone else in this book except one character. Like, there's seriously one singular character in this book that I like. I think that's where the disconnect came for me. I ended up giving it a 2 stars. I was sorry. I was looking though at a lot of your guys' like Goodreads reviews, because if you're friends with people on Goodreads, you see like their ratings and reviews first. And I seem to be in the minority here. So I'm not recommending this because it seems like a lot of you guys like it, and I tend to notice people who follow the channel. Obviously, we have very similar book tastes. So if you haven't read this book, a bunch of my other audience likes it. So, you know, you might as well try it out. I'm not like knocking it. It's not bad by any means. I can understand why people like this. It's just like not for me. And I think the biggest disconnect for me is really like, I don't like the characters, and that makes or breaks a book for me. But we did get Thursday down. Book 25 is down. That is so crazy. At this point, reading these books is starting to just feel like a task, like a daily task for me. I mean, it is. It's starting to feel like such a habit that I feel like I can't process the fact that I've read 25 books this month. I think this is the most I've ever read in 1 month, and we're still just gonna keep going. Like, I know that's the point of this challenge, but It's kind of crazy. Like, it really has just become habit. So the book that we're gonna pick up today is The Breakup List. I'm really excited about this. I got this sent to me, but it sounds like right up my alley. When it comes to finding the cons in a relationship, his own or someone else's, no one writes a better breakup list than Jackson. Some might call him a cynic, but Jackson prefers to think of himself as a realist, which is why it's good that he and Liam are just friends. But doth the stage manager protest too much? It's a theater kid romance, y'all. I was a theater kid, so I'm really excited about that. I think this is gonna be a really cute, fun little YA romance. I'm excited about it. I think it's like a cute idea. I'm gonna pretty much read most of this morning. If I don't finish it, then I'll come home later tonight and read it. I went to a coffee shop with my friend. I saw my boyfriend. It is much later, but I am home now, and I did make like significant progress with The Breakup List. I am really enjoying this book so far. It is just written so well. Like, this is YA romance perfection. I love this. If you want like almost like a Lynn Painter YA vibe, I'm like finding it with this book. Not obviously exactly like Lynn Painter, but it has that vibe. There are like deeper things discussed, but it is still a YA. It's still very lighthearted. The banter, top tier. The tension, top tier. The main character just convinced the love interest to ask out his sister because he thinks that he's into his sister, but obviously he's not. And so now we're going with this plot line. We're dealing with this. There are so many little theater kid references that my little theater kid heart is loving. Like, this book is just like right up my alley. I'm gonna keep reading. I feel like I don't have like too many significant things to say now. I didn't get like super far at the coffee shop. I am on page 123, so I still have like a good amount of the book to go. It's about 300 pages. Like about halfway through. I'd say I'm like 40% if I had to do the math, which is probably really inaccurate. Do not check my math. It's never good. I can't say why, but after the chapter I just read, I could see the third act conflict coming a mile away. Honestly, I don't really mind third act conflicts if they're done well. Like, sometimes I think like, oh, that was just like added in there for a conflict. But honestly, I know some people hate them, but to me it just makes the structure easier to read and it adds like the tension. Like, I think they're needed in a lot of books. I'ma just be real. Sometimes they're really stupid and unnecessary, but most of the time I feel like it adds to something. So I'm not mad about it, but I know what it's gonna be. I finished The Breakup List. I am like in between ratings for this. I enjoyed it a lot though. Like, this is like such a cute YA. This is a great palette cleanser too. And there's just like really good, very natural like representation in here that I really appreciated. It felt like a real high school theater class, which I enjoyed. I also really appreciate when authors know how to write teenagers without making them not sound like teenagers. Sometimes authors will write teenagers and it literally sounds like a 40-year-old writing what they think teenagers sound like. Someone who worked with kids, like, this is how they talk, and I appreciated that, you know? It felt realistic, it felt fun, it was a good book. My little theater kid heart was very happy. Like I said, really good palette cleanser. I'm in between rating this a 3.75 and a 4 because I enjoyed my time so much, but my big thing is like the pacing near the end just like felt really off. This is not a very long book, but it took a long time for them to get together, and then they got together and immediately the third act conflict happened pretty much. And then all of a sudden it's resolved, you know, like, and then the book's over, and it just felt like a little off. I feel like that could have been like spread out towards the beginning of the book, but that's like such a minor complaint. I really enjoyed this, and that's why I think I'm gonna just do 4 stars. Like, why not? I had a good time. Definitely like recommend this. Thank you so much to whoever sent me this. It was a publishing house who sent it to me. Slade, like, this was right up my alley. Just want like a fun, easy YA romance. Boom, 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 is Slade. It is Saturday morning. We have 2 days left of week 4. I'm feeling good. So far, I can't say it's my most successful week yet. I can't say that until the end of Sunday, obviously. But so far, I'm feeling like this has been like the best week of this challenge. Not because of like the books I've read. I mean, I have read really great books this week, luckily, but just because I feel like I've been reading early enough. I mean, last night I finished a little late, but that was fine. This is the first week where I haven't felt slumpy like at all week, because every other week I've just felt like at some point like, oh, maybe I don't want to read today, and then I've had to like go and kind of remotivate myself. Today I'm supposed to be reading None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I might still pick this up, but I'm not in a super thriller mood, not because I don't want to read a thriller, because I'm really interested in this book in general. I've just been kind of having random anxiety the last few days. I don't know like what's going on, so I don't know. I don't know if a thriller is like in my best interest right now. I'm not gonna read until like later in the day anyway. I just kind of wanted to show you guys like my process of thinking when choosing books for this challenge, because I've gotten like a lot of questions of like, how are you not in a slump? And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes I just need to like stare at the books that are my options for the week or for the month even, and see which one feels the best for me that day. So I kind of just wanted to show you guys how my brain works when I'm picking a book, so you see how I don't put myself in a slump basically. As much as I am excited to read this, I think I'm gonna be tabling this, and I think I'm gonna add it to next week's TBR, because I do really want to read it, and I just don't think a thriller is in my best interest like mentally right now. I could technically do is pick None of This Is True up tomorrow and choose my other book for the week, but the thing is this is my other book for the week. I know this looks big and scary and people are like, there's no way you could read this in a day. There's a very possible way I could read this in a day. It's about 800 pages. And for Raven Kennedy's books, I've noticed with this series specifically, again, talking about reading time in this vlog, for this series specifically, I've noticed my reading time is about 100 pages per hour. I can read this in a day. I just need to make sure I have like nothing else going on, and that I could probably throw on an audiobook if I have like little tasks, but I don't already have time to read this. Like I'm gonna have to start this in the morning tomorrow and just like go, you know. This is definitely a tomorrow book, because tomorrow is my like pretty much only like fully free day this week, which is nice. It's a Sunday. So what I think I'm gonna do instead, and I'm saying I think, I might fully change my mind later and just pick up None of This Is True. I really don't know. What I think I'm going to do is switch out None of This Is True for a next week book, and the next week book I'm gonna switch it out for is Girl Abroad, meaning this will move to next week's TBR, and I think I'm gonna read this today. It's so much later. I literally went to dinner with my mom and my boyfriend and my stepdad. I've done so much today and I haven't read. And I'm so nervous because I'm either going to fail today or I'm going to have to stay up till like 2 a.m. reading. We're gonna just have to see how this goes. I'm already kind of tired, so that really kind of makes me nervous because I'm a sleepy girl and I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm just like a little, I don't know what's gonna happen right now. I totally jinxed myself earlier when I was like, I'm doing so good this week. So you know how I was like, it's either gonna be Girl Abroad, this or this, right? Well, we had a secret fourth option. It's gonna be King of Greed. So long story short, I chose the shortest book I had. This is 330 pages. I feel like I can fly through Anna Hong's books. I'm gonna get ready for bed. I'm gonna sit in bed and we're gonna see if I can do this. First impressions, oh my gosh, how cool and unique. It's like a second chance romance, except our main characters are already married. They've been married for 10 years. It's gonna be like them like finding their love again. I'm like all in. I'm sad. This might have been a good book to pick because I think this is gonna keep my attention. I feel like that's just like a really unique way to start out a romance book. I haven't read a personal romance book where the main characters are celebrating their 10-year wedding anniversary at the start of the book. I'm ready. I'm so ready. I am now 66 pages in. Guys, I'm like kind of loving the heck out of this book. I was not expecting what it was. Like I said, they're already married at the beginning of the book. And it's like literally I'm watching them go through a divorce right now. I'm like it's so good. And it's kind of amazing how Anna Hong has written these characters, because I feel like I don't give her enough credit. I always like say like her books are like really fun, silly, like easy romances that are like kind of bingeable, which is true, but I don't give her credit. Like she is a very good author. She knows how to add depth to her characters, because it's totally the male main character's fault that they're getting divorced. But you understand his point of view too. And you understand both parties. And I'm like, I'm not like rooting for a specific person here. And it's sad. And I'm like, oh my God, like you're just thrown right into the drama. And you're like, oh, but it's like not drama enough to where you don't forgive someone for doing something. Because sometimes with second chance, I don't like it because I feel like someone in the relationship did something so horrible to the other person where I'm like, I would never forgive that. But this, it's like you totally get both of their points of views, and it's like really sad. And I'm like, the tea, like I'm just eating this up. Good morning, good morning. I've been crying all morning, like full-on sobbing watching videos of the Olympics. Let's talk about King of Greed. I did finish this last night. I was so sleepy, so I was like, I like literally can't even formulate words to like update you on my thoughts of this, but I did really like this. Like I gave this a 4 stars, and I don't know, like I knew I was probably gonna like it because I like this series, and I feel like Anna Hong, it always starts off like I feel like the beginning of her series are always like the weakest, and then it just keeps getting better and better. But I did really enjoy this book. Like I said, it was second chance, but the book starts off and our main characters are like literally having their 10-year wedding anniversary. I love that. I felt like it added to the tension. Of course, Anna Hong threw in like the classic Anna Hong thing where it's like kind of normal, and then all of a sudden it's like, and I'm kidnapping you. That didn't actually happen. That's not a spoiler, but I'm just saying, like, it's always a little outlandish anyway because it's a billionaire romance, but then it's just like another element that I'm like, whoa. Like, so we got a lot of callbacks to the other characters in this series so far, which I enjoyed, and I just enjoyed like watching the development of this relationship as they got back together. It was shorter, and I did feel like them getting back together felt a little rushed, but I also can see it too because they were together for 10 years. Divorce was like really dragged out, and then all of a sudden it was like, yay, we're back together. Whoa, you know? And there's like the classic Anna Hong time jumps, like things like that. I still really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 stars. It's the big boy, and I'm really nervous. Okay, I've made it like 50 pages in Gleam. Let me just say, the first chapter is like 40 pages alone, but do not let that freak you out because it did not feel like it. Like I am flying through this book. I'm loving it. You pick up right back where it left off. Again, please look up trigger warnings for this series because even the beginning I was like, oh, like it was just painful. So it's tough. Like the series is kind of tough when it talks about things like that, but it's so good. Like I'm having a good time other than that, but it is like essential to the story and understanding our main character's power. I'm doing pretty good. I'm enjoying the book. I knew I was gonna. I really like this series. I do want to show you guys my little reading setup I have. We come over here, like look at my bed. It's so cute, and I have my Boom Chicka Pop and my chocolate covered almonds and my book and my laptop and my phone and my remote. And I'm gonna light this candle. Like I have everything I need right here. Honestly, like all morning been going back and forth between I want to be productive because like I was saying yesterday, I wanted to do my monthly reset today, but honestly, I have like 3 more days of the month and I have time. Like I don't have a particularly busy week until the end of the week. I'm on my last day of my period. Like I think my body is just telling me like, Gina, you want to rest, you want to lay in bed, because yesterday I was like, oh, I want to be so productive tomorrow, I can't wait. And then this morning I woke up and I was like, and really the things that I need to be productive with, I don't need to do. Like it's not things I need to do. My room's clean, like everything is clean. I just want to deep clean and like things like that. Like I can get to that later on in the week. I want to listen to myself. I want to listen to my body, and that's why I made the executive decision to not make my bed, but to make my bed a cozy reading space for me, because all I want to do is lay in bed and read today. Later into the day, I'm still in the same pajamas. I've just had the most lovely Sunday lie-in. Like I have been so chillin' all day. Like I've been so chillin' all day, and this was much needed. I realized this was my first day in like 3 weeks where I didn't have anything to do. I didn't get as far into my book as I wanted to by this point in the day. Technically it's night now. I'm on chapter 19, page 300, which sounds great. Like I've read 300 pages, but this is a almost 800 page book. I'm liking it a lot. Like I was saying earlier, I can't really update a lot because it's like spoilers. It's the 3rd book in a series, but I am enjoying it. Like I said, please check trigger warnings. There are some interesting things we're getting revealed. I really like our main character. I don't even know how you say her name. I think it's Orin. I don't know. I don't think there's much to her, I'm not gonna lie, but there's something kind of like nice about that. Like I love a good like badass female main character that we kind of get in like a lot of fantasy books, and she's like kind of that, but not. And I appreciate that a little bit. Like she's just trying to figure things out and do her thing. She's right now in this book in a little bit of a sticky situation. A character from literally like book 1 that I was not expecting to come back came back. Something that I've been wanting to happen since book 1 with another character that I hate has happened. A little bit of a new romance developing. Technically, this is a fantasy romance series. Like, that's what it's categorized as. But I would not categorize this as fantasy romance. I would kind of categorize this as more of like fantasy with romantic elements. I don't know how to describe it, because even like the romance we're getting with this guy right now, I don't know how long that's gonna last. I don't know if this is gonna be like the end all be all. There's still like 3 more books in this series, one of which I think comes out literally next month. All I know is we're following Orange Journey, and we're following kind of like the destruction of a kingdom without spoiling anything, and I'm enjoying both of it. It's like political, but not. Like, it is not like something you have to think about. You're kind of just like going along with her and seeing what she's seeing, and I'm really enjoying that. Hi everyone, it's actually Tuesday. It's Tuesday of the next week when you're seeing this. I'm filming this the day before you see this video, so hello. I realized as I'm editing, I never updated for Guild. So listen, technically, I did not read this book in a day. I fell asleep at about like page 560. I was so close, like literally 200 pages off. So I guess it's not that close, but I was close. I was pretty close to finishing this book, but I didn't. But I did wake up yesterday and finish it yesterday, and then just didn't have time to edit. I really enjoyed this book. Every book in this series I just like more and more. I'm giving this book a 4 stars. I believe I've given the last 2 books 4 stars too. So I am like really enjoying this series. Again, I never really say like content warnings or age warnings, but I would really recommend being over 18 if you want to read this. And not only that, like please check trigger warnings. There are some very triggering things in this series. I really enjoy following her and being in her head and watching her like come to power. We find some things out about her power in this book. I definitely want to like finish it this year if I can. Like, that's definitely gonna be a goal, and I am proud that I got this big old book read in 2 days. Like, honestly, kind of slay to me. I cannot say much else about it because it's a spoiler for the series. That is the only downfall about reading books in a series and then reviewing them, because if they're connected the way these are, I can't really talk much about like the plot and other things about it, but I did enjoy it a lot. Like I said, 4 stars. And then that wraps up week 4 of 60 books in 60 days. Like I was saying, I felt really good this week. I did have like, you know, fell asleep reading that book, technically didn't finish it in week 4 type thing. I had some like late nights, but overall I felt really like good this week with my reading, and especially towards the beginning of the week, I was like on fire with reading early enough. So I felt slay. I'm feeling slay. Again, it just feels like reading a book a day is becoming habit. Watching my TBR dwindle is like so motivating. Like watching my physical TBR go down and down and down, especially since I haven't been buying a lot of new books. I think I bought 2 since this challenge started. Watching my TBR just continue to go down is the most satisfying thing ever. If you are new here, you could go ahead. I'd love to have you subscribe, join the family, join us on this little challenge that I am doing. Make sure to thumbs up this video if you enjoyed. And with that, I will see you guys all on Sunday for our next video of the week. Okay, bye guys.